Anyone here who's dreamt of being a pilot? Anyone here? So I see a lot of boys raise their hands. Stand up, boys. Let's see you. Just stand up. I want to see if there's any girl here who wants to fly a plane. Could you stand up? Oh, I just see that I didn't announce them, but they're already here, and I was saving the secret. Follow me, how did that happen? You'll have to wait for me to announce my guests. But let me welcome them, because here's a statistic that I want to share. What percentage of pilots do you think in India are women? Any guesses? Somebody give me a number. 15% of India's pilots are now women. 1-5. And India has the highest percentage of women pilots in the world. And I want to welcome on stage, I was going to do a proper introduction, but being the agro pilots that they are, they actually just whizzed in. I want to welcome Captain Preeti Kohal and Captain Ishita Bhatia to the stage. Please, can we have the microphones for our guests, please, on stage? Need the mics for our guests on stage. Let me start here. Okay, so I did see a girl raise her hand. Run up here, a young girl who wants to be a pilot. Run up, you've got to run. In the meantime, I need mics on the stage, please. Mics on the stage for the guests? Yes, please. Where's the girl? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on up. Come on up. Come on up. Okay. So before I talk to the professional pilots, I'm going to ask you, what's your name?
Fizra.
And you want to be a pilot?
I wanted to be a pilot, yes.
And then what happened?
I just did not get to do it, that's why.
You didn't qualify?
No, my family did not allow that.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Okay, it's okay.
Okay, Fizra says she wanted to be a pilot, but her family didn't allow her to do that. Can I ask you what appealed to you about being a pilot?
I'm a Kashmiri Muslim, and I was inspired by this woman named Iram Habib, who was the first Kashmiri Muslim pilot, because you don't see many Muslim women out there, specifically as pilots doing this job. So yeah, that's why. And I would absolutely love to be in that cabin, seeing the world out there.
Well, may your dreams still come true. It's never too late. I'm going to ask you to step down, sit in the front row, and we can begin our conversation. Captain Preeti Kohal and Captain Ishita Bhatia. Let's give them a big round of applause. Captain Preeti, I'll start with you. Yes. How old were you when you thought you wanted to be a pilot?
I think I must have been about 12.
And what was that moment? Do you remember that moment?
I got the first hand of a machine, a small powered machine, and I just love machines. So it's that entire excitement of controlling. It's like all the drivers in the room. It's like a good car, and then it's like a good plane.
Yeah.
So that's
and like when you first told your family that you want to fly planes, you were a 12-year-old?
Yes.
And what did they say?
Whatever you want.
Do you come from a family of aviation?
My mom's brother was a pilot.
Yeah.
But it was just as growing up, it was the parents. Whatever you want. Today a pilot, tomorrow I wanted to be, another day I wanted to be the Prime Minister. It's, yes, sure, whatever you want. Just work towards whatever you want.
So do you want to be Prime Minister too?
I wish.
Okay, Captain Ishita, what's your story?
Okay, so I actually wanted to be an engineer, and I was preparing for my exams, engineering exams.
Good Indian girl, huh?
No, I enjoyed physics and maths, so I think that's where it was coming from.
Yeah.
And my dad was a fighter pilot in Air Force.
Fabulous.
And I remember one day I was studying, and he came to me and he said, you know, he brought the newspaper to me. He said, you know, aviation is growing. It's a great opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So why don't you think about it, do your research, and come back to me if you want to do it. I'll guide you. And I did exactly that and decided to be a pilot.
So a lot of people are going to ask, is it tougher for women to be a pilot than a man? And I'll start with you, Captain Preeti, because while 15% is the highest percentage in the world, it's still not 50-50. It's still not even 40-60. So what do you think? And you know, when you sit in a plane and you say your captain is about to make an announcement, raise your hand, most of you who still assume it's going to be a guy. Raise your hand if you still think it's going to be a guy. Come on, be honest. No one's going to judge you. So a lot of people here are raising their hands. By the way, can I get the timer on here? I don't see the timer on. A lot of people here raise their hands thinking it's still going to be a guy. Who raised their hands here? The photographer. Come up on stage. Come up on stage. I want to understand where this conditioning comes from. So this is Aranya, our photographer for the day. So come here so you can see our fabulous pilots as well. Why do you, when you think the captain is going to land now, to put on your seatbelts, why do you think it's going to be a guy?
Because in my experience, I've never had a woman pilot.
Really?
Ever, except for when I was flying to Bombay for this event for the first time. In my life, there was a woman who was a pilot for me. But before that, I'd never had one, so the conditioning just comes from that experience. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's just I've never had one.
Right. So thank you for sharing that. Honestly, we're going to let you get back and get some photographs. Let me put to you, Captain Preeti. What is the toughest thing about being a woman in aviation? Is it very easy? Was it very easy? Did you face no obstacles? Did you face no sexism from colleagues, which they thought was jokey, but, you know, like, did you ever get weird comments?
You do get weird comments. Basically, you're left out from a lot of group activities because they don't know how to deal with you. And so when I got into aviation, we had a lot of senior colleagues and who had never dealt with women pilots. So they're a bit wary. I mean, we all agree that we're great people, but a lot of people don't know how to deal with us. So saying which, it was a little bit uneasy for them, not on my part. I felt absolutely at home. It doesn't, I mean, honestly, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
But yes, in general, even today, it's a little bit
What's
different.
the weirdest thing that people assume about women pilots?
The weirdest thing...
Like, what's the weirdest, most irritating thing that's been said to you?
Oh, you're a woman.
And then what?
And so it's like, and then what?
Ishita?
So no, I haven't faced any sexism in aviation as such. But outside aviation, yes, people are surprised to find out, you know, that you're a pilot. How can a woman fly a plane? How is this happening? And like Preeti said, you know, you're a woman. How is it happening? So I'm like, I get equal training, same training, and the aircraft doesn't know whether a man is flying it or a woman is flying it. So that's just how it is.
The aircraft is gender neutral.
Most unbiased.
The is the aircraft more unbiased than passengers?
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
Do passengers respond differently to when they know it's a female pilot?
Yes, they do.
Give us an example.
So this was even a colleague of mine. So he had come from Korea. So he was Korean, and culturally, they're not used to dealing with women. So every time there was a door, he would open the door for me and then realize that he's opening the door, but I was the captain. So he would want to go ahead because he's used to going ahead. So there was this constant at every door, there was this, who's going to go ahead? Because they want to be ahead. So I was doing his route check, and he confessed to me, you know, Captain, I just want to let you know, this is the first time I'm flying with a woman. And I responded saying, don't worry, I've flown with a lot of men.
Well said, right? Ishita, tell me this. Women professionals get asked about work-life balance in a way that men don't. But the truth of life is that many women drop out of the workforce because the pressures at home are too much. And we talk a lot about equality at work, but we don't talk about equality at home. Pilots, international pilots in particular, by definition, work different time zones, have odd hours. Has that discouraged women from remaining in the workforce? Do a lot of women stop flying because that becomes a problem because there isn't enough equality at home?
Not that I know of in my organization, and I have to give, you know, like thanks to Indigo for having a number of policies in place. So the hardest thing for me was when I became a mother and I joined back. I think I underestimated how difficult it's going to be.
What was tough about it?
You know, there could be bad days. Your kid is not well, and even as a domestic pilot, the timings are odd. There's no fixed time to sleep. You have to manage your rest because obviously every day the responsibility is the same, 180 lives, right? So you can't take that for granted just because you're a mother. But there's a lot being done in aviation. I can speak for Indigo. There are a lot of policies in place. We have something called flexi contracts, where if your child is 5 years or below, you can opt for lesser flying hours.
Is that for the guys too?
No, only for the women.
So here's my question. Like, I just feel like if you're going to encourage men to take on equal responsibility at home, maybe flexi hours should apply to everybody. What do you all think?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good thought.
It's a good thought. So we have the two major airlines represented here. Captain Preeti Kohal's been flying with Air India, Captain Ishita with Indigo. How many years have you both been flying?
28. I've been flying for 28.
28?
Yes.
And
28
you,
years.
Ishita?
18 years.
Wow. So I'm going to take a couple of questions, but in the meantime, what's the craziest landing or the toughest flight both of you have ever done?
Okay, it was a training flight. So the first officer, it was his second flight. Maybe it was his first. So he had hardly about 5 hours experience. Coming to Bombay, monsoon, and we started off with having 8 hours. And by the time we landed, we had 20 hours. We did 2 go-rounds into Bombay, went to Ahmedabad, diverted, came back. So it was just a great flight.
Explain what a go-around is to them.
Okay, so when you can't make a landing because of the winds being too strong or you can't see the runway, it's when you discontinue the approach and you put in full thrust and then you go around, then you come back again, make another attempt. Again, if it's really crazy, the weather is bad, and then you again put in full thrust and divert off to Ahmedabad. All of you all must have been on some diverted flights. None of us want to divert, believe me. Fuel gets over, weather gets bad, and we've got to go.
Ishita, craziest story?
Yeah, so it's very similar, except that it was my first flight in command.
Okay.
And I was just 23 years old.
Wow.
And I was so scared. I was like, I better get this right. So we were coming into Ahmedabad. The weather packed up without any warning, and we ran out of fuel. So we diverted to Mumbai. And now, you have to manage passengers and a lot of other things. So yeah, it was difficult. No one expects to divert on your first flight as a captain, right?
So there's a very famous book called Fear of Flying, and that was a metaphor for how women are scared to let themselves go. But I have to ask both of you this literally. Have you ever been scared of flying? Like, have you ever felt that knees quivering moment or your heart in your hand?
Honestly, I don't have fear and I don't have guilt because I've left my kids at home. So when I'm at work, I'm at work. And I think that applies to all professionals. When you're at work, you're at work. Women, guys, all of you all, there's nothing to feel guilty about. You're at work. And fearful, as long as you're knowledgeable about what you're doing, there is no fear.
Ishita, kabhi dar laga, kabhi bhi nahi.
डर तो नहीं कह सकते, but yeah, there are situations, there are days, like you said, the weather is bad and you sort of have to be on your toes, you have to bring out all the competencies.
Everybody laughs at me. They say you're not scared of bombs, you're not scared of going to war zones, but you're scared of turbulence. Tell us honestly, should we be scared during turbulence?
No, not at all. It's safe. 99.99%.
Strapped up, that's all. Strapped up.
Huh?
Strapped up.
Strapped up, yeah, but the plane is going like this, like this.
So that means there's wind, and when there's wind, you're flying.
Okay, let's open this up for questions. Look, this is not just about aviation. Even if you're not an AV geek, it's about women making it in a man's world, right? It's about breaking those barriers. Captain Preeti, your son's also a pilot?
Yes, he is.
How old is he?
He's 24.
And if you had a daughter, would you have encouraged her to be a pilot?
If she wanted to be.
Okay, questions. I saw hands up. Yep. Come up. It's easier if you come up. Can we get the mic there? Can we get the mic there? Yep. Okay, go ahead. Great.
Hello, ma'am. I would just like to have this one question for both of them. Is women pilot representation in films? One is, how accurate is it? And how do you all feel about it?
Which movie are you thinking of?
Many. Not targeting any.
But what is your image of pilots from watching movies?
It's not an image created. Their movie representation is created because they're showing women empowerment as such.
So I have a question. Like, when we think of people who fly, we all think of Tom Cruise? Or am I the wrong generation? Who do you all think of when you think of... Anyone? Has there ever been a really cool movie made about a female pilot?
No, not that I know.
That's the point, right? So what do you think when I see journalists in cinema, I don't recognize myself. And every time there's a woman journalist, they say, "Ye to Barkha ke upar hai." And I'm like, huh? How do you answer her question?
So the role of a pilot is kind of dramatized in the movie. They don't talk that we haven't slept, that we can't eat everything that we want, we can't be there on holidays, and we party a lot. So that's just part of the whole myth of what it is. But so it's not really accurate, but we're good at what we do, and we are professional for sure, and we can land the plane as good as anybody else.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, I agree that, there's a lot of glamour when a pilot is shown in movies, but believe me, it's a tough job, requires a lot of discipline. Like I said, you have to manage your rest, so many other things, no time to sleep, to eat. So there's a lot more to it that's not been portrayed so far.
Thank you so much.
I want one other young woman or man. There were young boys here also who wanted to be pilots, right? Where did they go? Come on up. Come on up. It's as important to include boys and men in this conversation as it is to include women. Preeti's son is a pilot. You seem very young, though. Hi. Hi. So, what's your name?
My name is Shriyansh.
And are you in school?
Yes, I'm in school. I'm in 9th grade.
And you want to fly planes?
Yeah.
And what do you think about women flying planes?
Nothing as such. I feel they have the right equality.
You can say it properly.
Equally, they have the right 50-50.
They have the?
Right to fly the planes.
Of course they have the right. But do you think it's tougher for women to convince grown-up boys that they're as good, if not better?
Nothing like that.
Nothing like that?
No.
Yeah? What do you want to say to the two captains here?
Nothing.
You want to ask them?
No.
Huh? But you want to fly?
Yeah.
Yeah? You're sure?
Yeah.
What do you like about flying?
I wanted to be an Air Force pilot, and I wanted to fly fighter jets.
Wow. And what do your parents do?
My father is the head of the administration office.
Okay. Nice to meet you. And may you soar high and fly planes and continue to be a boy of the next generation who believes that women have equal rights to chase their dreams. What would you say to young women here? Because really, the conversation that we're trying to have here, it's not literally about aviation alone, Ishita. It's about having the freedom to pursue your dream, whatever that is. If it's to be a chef, if it's to play the saxophone, if it's to fly a plane, if it's to be a doctor. But women are held back. While this is a day of celebration, let's not pretend that women aren't held back. What would you say to women?
I think honestly, women don't give ourselves the right to make mistakes, Whenever we make mistakes, it's like we made a mistake because we're a woman. No, I made a mistake because I'm human. So you have to understand that when you pursue something new, you will make mistakes, okay? Don't take it seriously if someone, passes a comment or something. Ignore it, focus on your goal, and yeah, that's it. Yeah.
What do you say, Preeti?
I would say be proud to be a woman. Not everybody has that opportunity. So it is something that is empowering. Knowledge is power. So any profession that you take up, remember, the more that you know about it, the better you are at it, the more respect you get at it, and then there is no looking back.
Fabulous. I'm going to take one last question and then we're going to honor these women. So if we can have our first awards of the day ready. One more question, anybody? Anything about dreams, biases, stereotypes? I'm just going to, yeah. Come on up. Come on up. It's just faster to get people on stage than to get the mic on you. Come on. Hi. Come. Come here.
Hi, I'm Meena Mishra. And as we were talking about Bollywood movies, so if your plane is hijacked, how would you feel? How would you deal with the situation? You are running out of fuel. You are running out of food. No, you are already out of food now. So no food at all, running out of fuel. And they are not allowing you to land. Nobody is allowing you to land. what would you do? How would you feel?
It's actually a great question because, you know, one of the, we'll have women soldiers on our stage later, and one of the reasons that they would say that women should not be sent into combat zones, a lot has changed. But in the early days, they used to say we can't have women in combat because what if they get taken prisoner of war and so on. A hijack situation, we've seen IC-814, a lot of us have seen it on Netflix. What are you trained to do? And of course, the training is the same whether you're a woman or a man. Captain Preeti, I'll start with you.
So we have our SOPs, standard procedures that we have to follow, which are very well vetted. And as per this, depending on the situation, so the first thing is that we listen to whatever they say, because we've got to understand it is a hijacking situation. And the safety of the passengers and the crew is paramount. So whatever it takes to be safe is what is the goal at the end.
And even if, you know, there are patients and, you know, there is no medicine around, how would you deal with that?
So the only way to deal with that is you have to negotiate if they can. Get the elderly people, the patients, and the children off first. So standard protocol will be maintained. And honestly, it's all laid down for us what needs to be done, and we just have to follow it.
I have to ask both of you a difficult question. Both of you are parents. I'm not saying mothers. I would have asked the same question to two male pilots as well. When you fly, it's a highly skilled profession, and it's not without risk. How do you stop thinking at that moment about your family back home? Suppose you run into terrible weather, you run into a potentially risky situation, because it's assumed that women are in that way softer. This has been the assumption about us. I want to start with you, Ishita.
So at Indigo, on the cockpit door, we have a very nice saying which says, cockpit is a serious place, leave your worries at home.
Yeah.
So whenever you enter, you read it, and it sort of stays with you. Yeah.
But are you able to compartmentalize? You have to.
Yeah, you have to.
Absolutely.
Are your children here, by the way, in the audience?
No, one is on flight and the other one's at work. So.
Okay. Both boys?
Both boys.
How are you bringing them up to be boys of this generation who believe like that little child did in equality?
So
they have a great role model to start with.
No, so I have been telling them since they were kids, I'm going to bring you all up like daughters. Okay? So then you all actually understand what it is to empathize with other people. And so I keep calling them my daughters. And of course, everybody grimaces at me, but that's part of it.
I love that. Raise your boys as if they were daughters. So if I'm going to ask both of you to stand now, join us here. Join us here. And may I please have the first set of awards for the morning. These awards are the annual Her Awards, Hope, Empower, Rise. If I can please have them up and we can have a big round of applause for, come on, louder than that. That's for you. And here we go, Captain Kohal. Come step up here. Let's hear it for our captains. And come, a photograph. And next time you're on a flight and you hear Captain Preeti Kohal or Captain Ishita Bhatia making the announcement on Indigo or Air India, you'll know that you've met them up close and personal, right? Any last message for girls here?
Just believe in your goals, believe in yourself, and all the best.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. The best thing to say in an education is, let's have a huge round of applause. Ma'ams, please, this way, through the wing, through the